Hey, here we go. Check this out.
This is Whole Nother Level with Dwayne Lindo.
You know, frankly, I feel that we shouldn't even be talking about this. Simple as that.
Frank Mazzei.
Did they win the offseason in free agency? Yes. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Craig Cousin.
How can you not put Tom Brady number one on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks? Man, this guy's a legend. Rings speak.
And Eric Wilson.
I didn't know Eric was going to let you talk.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. I've seen enough Facebook posts to know that you're not a Giants fan. Let's go. And welcome, everyone, to another edition of Whole Nother Level, alongside the one and only Craig Cousin, who I know has a lot to say today, as well as the great L. Bushman, who, you know what, we're just going to put you, you're no longer from the sports arena. You're just part of Whole Nother Level right now. So
okay, that's cool with me.
Welcome to the family. This is your man, E-Dubs. We are broadcasting to you, and we will be on our new website, which is HNL3.com. Everybody go check it out, but it's been a week. We've had some time off. Gentlemen, what's going on? How's everybody doing today?
Doing well. Doing really well, man. I'm happy to be here. You know, had a little bit of time off to reflect on some things, and now we're back in action.
Pretty well as you guys as well. Sports have been not so kind to my area, especially the baseball area.
We won't get into that. You've moved past that,
I know.
And we will get into. You're
That's
wearing your. You're representing the true team, I guess, in Tampa right now.
I do. I have my Buccaneers hat on.
The creamsicle
color. Creamsicle colors,
yes.
Of course, man.
Yes. But again, every Saturday, Whole Nother Level, 1 to 3 Eastern, right here on HNL3.com. Gentlemen, I want to start the conversation by asking you one simple question. How do we feel about Tim Duncan? He retired after 19 seasons, all on the Spurs. He's got 5 championships to his credit. He's an Olympian as well.
All-time great. I'm in the process of debating still, and I know everybody characterizes Tim Duncan as a power forward, and if he is characterized as a power forward, then he'll go down obviously as the best power forward of all time, in my opinion. I put him in a hybrid category, though. I put him in a center power forward category, and with that, I have to average in the Hakeem Olajuwons, the Wilt Chamberlains, the Shaquille O'Neals, some of those people. And I've always looked at him as almost a center power forward hybrid. If you want to look at him as just a power forward, obviously his career is ridiculously good, better than Dirk Nowitzki, better than Kevin Garnett, some of these other power forwards that have come over time, Kevin McHale. I think that Tim Duncan in itself, his titles speak for himself, and the fact that he was able to do what he did with one team is remarkable, and you don't see that these days. We just saw Dwayne Wade leave a Miami organization after being there his entire career.
Right.
So he's going to go down as one of the only players in any sport to play with one team his entire career, and that speaks volumes to what he's been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
I'd say this class act.
Oh, yeah.
Class act.
Start to finish. There was no one better. And he spoke with he embodied, in my opinion, the phrase, spoke softly but carried a big stick. I mean, this guy took over for a team when David Robinson retired, and the Admiral, in my opinion, is one of the all-time greats. And Tim just stepped right in and kept that team in contention year in, year out. And I mean, in my opinion, top 2, well, I'll put him in the top 3 as for Spurs. I would say, the Iceman, of course, George Gershwin, then Tim Duncan. Then David Robinson, and then Tim Duncan.
So you put Tim Duncan behind David Robinson career-wise?
The Admiral did so much because, you know what, I think at a time when basketball had the Jordan of the world, there was still that true big man. And the big men, the Hakeems, the Patrick Ewings, the David Robinsons, those guys really, when you thought of the NBA in the 90s, you thought of Jordan. What was Jordan? Jordan was a guard. So everybody went towards that position. You still needed a big man. And I think when you came to San Antonio, it was about the big man.
It was about David Robinson. It was about Tim Duncan eventually. It was about Patrick Ewing. It was about Charles Barkley. That's what it was back then. It was funny because, Jordan took all the limelight, but then you had nothing but big men following him as kind of the second tier, if you will.
Exactly.
But when like I said, when I look at Tim Duncan's career, though, one of the things that sticks out to me is his demeanor. His demeanor was so calm and collected that a lot of people, I think, won't put him in the top 10, 15 players of all time because they forget about him because he wasn't flashy, he wasn't flamboyant. But what he did do is respected his coach, respected his teammates, and he always went about things the right way. If you're a young person these days, you're looking for someone to, idolize, Tim Duncan is that guy.
Oh, that's the classic example. And then to have such a coach, have a man in Greg Popovich who just literally was like,
Did you see his press conference?
I did.
He cried.
He did. And
I didn't know Greg could cry or show any kind of emotions besides a stone face.
Listen, I think Belichick's going to do the same when Brady is gone. But,
No, I don't think Belichick's gonna.
You don't think so?
No, the only thing he might do is like put his hoodie over his eyes and maybe like
I don't know,
tears,
but
that's pretty much
But
it.
yeah, Greg and Pop and Duncan. I mean, when you thought of basketball and you thought of a head coach player combination that were on such a great level together, on a whole nother level, I mean, these guys, they epitomized, they did it. And so he got 5 rings. I will agree with you, Craig. I don't think a lot of people will give him the satisfaction or the credit or the respect that he is due.
Well, do you want to go over the stats?
Go ahead.
5-time NBA champion, 3-time NBA Finals MVP, 2-time NBA Most Valuable Player. I mean, the list goes on and on. NBA Rookie of the Year. You can't. I'm looking at right now. His whole stats cover one page.
Yeah, and his career points per game were 19.3. Wasn't quite to 20, but his rebounds per game were almost 11 at 10.9 a game. I mean, that is solid to average over the longevity of his career. Everybody talks about player's coach, and they talk about Greg Popovich, a Doc Rivers, things like that. I look at him as a coach's player because when you're a coach, you idolize a Tim Duncan because he never once argued back to the coach. Whatever the coach wants him to do, he will do that. If he asks Tim Duncan to play a center position, a power forward position, play a pick and roll, come off a screen, cover the best player on the other team, he was always up for the challenge, and he would always make his teammates around him better. And I think that's what makes him, a coach's player instead of a player's coach.
Talk about a team ambassador too. This is a guy, going back what Craig said, a really humble guy, really soft spoken. This is a guy that wasn't flashy at all, but was one of the all-time greats. I mean, he didn't go all about the money like a lot of players do these days about jumping teams and whatnot. This is a guy that stayed at one team, did his job, won championships by doing that.
But we've said it before, rings talk. And when you look at the power forwards of all time, you look at a Karl Malone, a Dirk Nowitzki, you have the Kevin Garnett's, Charles Barkley's, Kevin McHale's of the world. But when you lump them in together, the one thing stands out. It's not just longevity of career, but it's rings, and he has 5 of them.
Right.
So you can't argue that. If you're putting him into the power forward conversation, he has to be the greatest power forward of all time. Has to be.
I agree.
All right. Well, I mean, you'll get no argument from me. I mean, I think the funniest thing about Tim Duncan that I ever saw was they did a commercial one time where they talked about how stone-faced Tim Duncan was and how just by looking at you, he had the Jedi mind trick. So
Are you saying you wouldn't want to go in a staring contest with Tim Duncan?
No.
He learned from the best. He learned from Popovich.
But here's the thing: the commercial was he got pulled over by a cop, and the cop said he was doing 55, and Tim just looked at him and he goes, 45, and it was so funny because who is who he was. I mean, great stuff to start the show. Let's keep it going, and I want to talk about: did anybody watch the Home Run Derby and/or the All-Star Game?
I watched the highlights of the Home Run Derby.
Okay.
I did not watch the All-Star Game.
All right.
What I got from the highlights that I saw about Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, I mean, I actually watched the Home Run Derby.
Destroying
Good for
baseballs.
you.
I did.
Good for you. I can completely admit I am not into the MLB All-Star Game whatsoever.
I'm not into it anymore. I used to love it when I was a kid, especially when you have Randy Johnson on the mound and John Kruk is there.
Yeah,
with the backwards helmet and he's throwing behind him as a joke, but you don't get that anymore.
Right.
I don't know what it is. I just don't get excited about it anymore. I don't get excited about the MLB. I think that, it's good because there's still something up for grabs as far as who gets, home field advantage in a World Series. Home field advantage, I should say. The thing is, though, you still have teams that are represented that have zero shot of making the postseason, nonetheless, the World Series. So I kind of think that kind of takes a back seat to it a little bit. But then again, it is a good factor because someone that knows their team's out of it still might tune in to watch. I'm just not that guy to do that. You know, I rarely watch the NBA All-Star Game, the Pro Bowl a little bit. I used to like the skills competition.
Right.
I'm all about skills competitions, like 3-point competitions, dunk competitions. I usually do, you know, the home run derby, but for whatever reason this year I did not do it. And the Red Sox were highly represented in the All-Star Game itself. I tuned in, I think, for an inning or two, but I didn't even see, you know, the final until I woke up the next morning.
What they really need to do is kind of take a page out of the Pro Bowl, and then I know the Pro Bowl now is kind of a snoozer still, anyways. But they did that whole draft where they drafted teams. At the end, if the Major League Baseball did something like that with the All-Star Game to make it fun again, like maybe have sensors out in the field where, you know, if a baseball gets hit and they can hit a sensor, boom, that's points.
Okay.
Make it fun again. Like to me, the All-Star Game is just another game. I mean, they have the home run derby and everything else, and the celebrity softball game, but that's still a snoozer. And I won't watch the home run derby anymore. And there's one reason why.
Why?
Chris Berman.
Well, this is
Cannot watch it anymore because of him.
Listen, you and my friend Mikey, who lives down in Fort Lauderdale, have a love-hate relationship with Chris Berman. Mikey can't stand him either. He does.
I cannot hear the back. I
You know
cannot
what?
do it anymore.
You know what?
It was cool in the 80s. It's not cool anymore.
That is probably my father-in-law loves that.
Oh,
because before Berman even says it, the first home run, my father-in-law does that whole
He starts
impression.
before Chris Berman.
He does.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, Pop.
I
Really?
mean, it's
you
the
hear
same
it?
thing in the NFL. It's every single week. It's like nobody circles the. It's like, okay, don't pick the Bills again this week.
I think
right.
Chris Berman actually put the nail in his coffin for that home run derby with the comment that he said about Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. Well,
Come on.
This is his.
How out of touch are you?
You've been in sports this long, and you're going to say.
Who has that direct quote? Because I'm not. It's not like I've been sleeping under a rock all week.
The direct
but
quote,
I didn't get the direct quote. I've just heard bits and pieces
in
of
a
it.
time where we lose Ali, Frazier goes down.
No.
Was it that?
Down goes Frazier.
Down goes Frazier.
Which had nothing to do with Ali Frazier. It was Foreman who knocked out Frazier. It was George Foreman. So you just put two completely different situations together trying to make something happen. What I will say to you is Chris Berman's contract's up at the end of this year.
Bye.
I don't think he's going to be re-signed by ESPN.
He's not. Bye-bye.
So
Bye-bye.
that was it. But yes, I will completely side with you on this one, Evan. For him to do that, I was just like, I'm glad I didn't see it because I would have been like, are you kidding me? You've been in sports for how long? You've been a commentator, a reporter, ESPN for how long? And you just completely made one of the big, that was a novice mistake that a veteran like him should have never made. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Or we could put it in the standpoint is Chris Berman's actually gone now crazy.
Or he just doesn't care.
Probably.
I mean,
I think he's just gone crazy.
You know, but yeah, getting back to the home run derby, listen, I watch it every year. My mother-in-law is a huge, huge fan of it. She loves to watch it. So every year, you know, Kathy and I, we go over and we watch it. And Giancarlo.
Or
Stanton.
if you want to call him Mike. That's his original name.
Stanton was just, I mean,
destroying baseball.
Fluid. I mean, when he got into a rhythm, forget about it. Now, the one thing I did say to Evan before we started the show today here on Whole Nother Level was, you know, his batting coach is Barry Bonds. So go figure. But for him,
so you're saying he should get tested after that?
I'm saying it's a possibility. But I'm saying he jacked 60, and I mean
61.
61.
61.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, just every round, 20, 24, 22, whatever it was, knocking them.
And you know what surprised me the most is, and I looked back at prior home run derbies where Josh Hamilton went off that one year.
Yes.
Okay, but then he got gassed in the second half. Stanton didn't.
No,
he just kept going like it was nothing.
That's a great point. I was going to bring that up. I was like, he didn't even get tired.
He didn't even. Yeah, it was crazy.
You know. For him to, I mean, he started and he went in the first round. He was the third one to go up. So then you do get your rest because you have 4 other guys who have to go. But then to come back up in the second round and repeat what you did in the first round, and then you don't have that much time in between to go to the final round, and you're still pumping them out. Look, I mean, I'm all for setting records, and I'm all for making Major League Baseball more exciting, and I think he definitely did that. What I'm saying to you is, if you ask me, I'm going to err on the side of being a cynic and say, yeah, you might want to check this brother out.
Well, see, I mean, somebody need to look at him the next day. How was his recovery time? He might have been hanging out with Brock Lesnar. I don't know. Possibility.
But the AL East, correct me if I'm wrong, the AL, not the AL East, the AL, they won again.
Yes, they
the
won.
home run derby.
The American League won again, so
So
So-
the Red Sox will have home field this year.
We will get.
Loving that.
We
If they
will
can get past Baltimore.
yeah. We will definitely get to that and much more. Let's take a real quick break. When we come back, I definitely want to talk a little bit more about what you gentlemen think the second half of baseball is going to look like, especially being in the AL East. We got a lot to cover. We haven't even talked about Durant going to the Warriors. And then, of course, as we're doing each week here on Whole Nother Level, we are breaking down division by division in the NFL. And this week is the great L. Bushman's division.
Fire the cannons.
Hometown hero.
Fire the cannons.
NFC South. You are listening to us, Whole Nother Level, right here on HNL3.com. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Whole Nother Level right here on HNL3.com. I got the one and only Craig Cousin along with the great L. Bushman keeping the show going. All right, gentlemen, we are now in the second half of Major League Baseball.
Yes.
And, of course, as
Unfortunately.
always, we will talk about the AL East because they are represented well not only here on Whole Nother Level, but also in the Sarasota-Tampa market area. So I will defer to the two of you, and I'm first going to the one and only and say, Craig, what do you see moving forward with your Boston Red Sox?
I see big things. Thank you, San Diego Padres, for trading Drew Pomerantz over to us. The third, actually I think it's the fourth now, but a third or fourth best ERA in the whole MLB, being at
2.27.
8-7 on the season. But that is because the Padres aren't very good. They blew a bunch of his wins. Super excited to get him. That's what we needed on our team. We are the number one hitting team in the whole Major League Baseball. With Xander Bogaerts, David Ortiz having a ridiculous season. He should rethink retirement, but he's pretty much already went through that retirement tour, so I'm sure he's going to follow through with that. Jackie Bradley Jr. The thing is, we didn't have to give up any of these. We did have to give up a nice prospect to get him over, but we didn't have to give up any of our big hitters to bring in a big pitcher, and that's what everybody was afraid of. So we have our entire starting lineup for, as far as Dustin Pedroia, David Ortiz, Jackie Bradley Jr., Xander Bogaerts, Mookie Betts. Everyone's playing out of their mind, loving where the team's going. Now we have a starting pitcher to go along with, a somewhat subpar David Price this season. He's starting to pick it up a little bit. Steven Rice been playing well as a knuckleballer. We'll see if Clay can get it together. I don't think he's really going to get it
I
together.
got to ask you a question, Craig.
Yes.
What are you guys going to do about your bullpen? Kimbrel's out.
Yeah, they've been struggling a little bit.
Koji's out.
Koji.
What are you guys going to do? Are you guys going to pull the trigger before the trade deadline to get a couple of relievers in there?
I think we are going to. I'm not sure. I haven't read of any specific reliever that we're targeting at this time, but we have some assets to do so. I think that's going to be an intricate part of moving forward. But what I will say is, now that we got another rotational starter in, I wouldn't be opposed to
You can move one of those guys.
kicking one of them
you
to
can
the
move one of
bullpen
those guys back in the bullpen
for one or
huh?
two innings if need be.
You're on a
5-game win streak.
5-game win streak.
Yep.
Last 10, you're 8-2. You're still sitting at second.
So that's the
in
problem.
The AL East.
That's the problem. The Orioles have been playing out of their mind. I'm just waiting for this team to go on a losing streak, and they haven't really all season.
And right now with the wild card, you're first in the wild card. So you guys are definitely in. I'm just I'm very curious to know what you foresee, because this is the time of year now where it's all about momentum. And that's what I will say. After the All-Star break, it's about momentum for these teams. It's about, you've got to go on these runs to get yourself to October.
Well, based on our offense, I think we're going to be in any game. The question mark has been the pitching all season. And now that bringing in a stud at pitching, I think is going to just propel us over the top. Like you said, we're in the number one seed as far as wild card right now, and
Right.
I don't see us really falling off from that. So at the very least, I think, it depends how Baltimore plays. And then looking back in a rear view, the Blue Jays are right there, a game back, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we also have the Yankees about 5 or 6 back. The only team that's out of it, unfortunately, for this region, the Tampa Bay, and I'm going to say it, Devil Rays, because they've really played like the Devil Rays this season. I think they're 18.5 games back out of first.
18.5 back.
With about, 70 games to go. I don't see them making up that. There's no way they make up that kind of ground, especially with the teams in front of them playing as good as they are. But what they can do is they can make a couple trades before the deadline and kind of better position themselves maybe moving forward. That they've really developed their players well. And, I'm not going to talk too much on the Rays because I know that's Evan's specialty. So I'll let him touch on that. But I think the Red Sox are in a really good position to, at the very minimum, make the wild card, and I think they'll make a strong push to win the division.
And with that, I will kick it over to the great L. Bushman, who did say 2 weeks ago that he is done with his Tampa Bay Rays. However, I have to ask you, what glimmer of hope do you see with this team, if any?
None. I told you 2 weeks ago I'm done with the team. So I am actually going to look at this from an outsider's point of view.
Wow.
Not as a fan. I'm looking at a guy that's watching baseball and it pays attention to a lot to the AL East. So
Okay.
I'm gonna touch on Boston first because and as much as I grit my teeth, the Red Sox are in a very good position because they are in a power position to where they could probably bring a couple of good relievers to fill in slots. Because right now they're hot. And when you have a Red Sox team that is hot, you don't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
Okay? Orioles, they're in first place right now. They're on a run. I mean, they're cranking out home runs like it's no tomorrow. The only issue I have with them is once they get into the postseason, they seem to just falter. And that comes with their pitching. Okay? That team is built on home runs. It is not built on pitching. They have one guy that's carrying the rotation. That's Chris Tillman. That's it. And his ERA is 5 right now, which is insane. You're in first place right now, and your top pitcher's carrying an ERA of 5. Scary. Toronto, I don't see them maybe squeaking in or not. I mean, they're playing good baseball right now. I mean, they've got a high-powered offense, but I don't really see them maybe making the postseason. Now, the Yankees, I wanted to get on them before I got into the Rays. Okay, the Yankees are out. They're done. Okay, they're 8.5 back. They're done. Cashman himself says, I want to tear down this team and rebuild. The only thing that he needs to do that is he needs to have his upper brass. He needs to have the Steinbrenner say it's okay because they're done. They have so many huge contracts. They've got old players. They need to tear down, rebuild. And what team they need to go and maybe pair up with for the trade deadline? Chicago Cubs.
Very interesting.
The only reason why I say this is because Chicago's in need of a couple of relievers, okay? Chapman's got a 1-year deal with the Yankees. Probably not going to be back next season. Probably going to command a lot of money. Chicago's looking for that back-end rotation. Shelby Miller is another good option, too. So if you do a package deal with those two guys and maybe go after your future third baseman in Chris Bryant, something could happen there. Likely not, but I see them making a move with Chicago. Be like, look, I'll give you a couple draft picks. We'll send you over Chapman, and we'll call it a day. I see that happening.
So you think that's all it's going to take?
I see that's all it's going to take. But I think Cashman has to have that yes sign from the Steinbrenner to say, okay, do it. Tear down this team and rebuild, okay? Because next year you're going in the next season where you could have free agents come in. There is some guy from Washington that might command a lot of money and might be foreseen in pinstripes. I think his name is Bryce Harper, okay? That's a guy you can go after. I mean, he's looking for a huge contract.
And, I mean, the Yankees have the pocketbook to do it, but
Exactly.
do you really see him jumping from the NL to the AL side?
To play in pinstripes and to command the money he's probably going to command, yes.
What kind of contract we talking?
Huge.
Well, all right, Billy Fusilli.
I'm gonna say larger than A-Rod's. I'm gonna say upper maybe
Wow.
$300-400 million.
I just can't see that happening.
But it's
They
just,
have the pocketbook.
They
Like
have the
you said,
pocket-
to pay for it. They will pay for it.
'Cause
And if he's willing to go there, I mean, there's not a lot of teams with that market share, with that money to spend. They're one of them.
Eric, you got to look at it this way. Okay, you have Teixeira, who's on the last leg of his career. He's
Got
probably done. Okay, A-Rod has the decision of where he can come back, which he probably will because of his ego. He might come back for 1 year, but if the Yankees want to get rid of him and cut ties, they're going to eat the rest of his contract, which is $26 million. Okay, you free up that kind of money after that's done and over with after next season. Okay. So you're going to have you're the Yankees. You have the deepest pocketbooks in all the leagues. So you can go out and afford a big player like Bryce Harper. Okay? You can do that. It's a scenario that they might want to entertain because they can do that.
They have to do it, too, because they can't fall off. They're an organization that can't fall off for too long because they put a product on the field together for so long that their fan base respects, and that city will demand winning. So if they don't get to the postseason this year and maybe next year, I mean, they'll be hell to pay in New York, and that's just how that city runs.
Mm-hmm.
No, I completely agree with what both you gentlemen are saying. What I'm just looking at is I don't know if Bryce Harper is ready for New York or if New York is ready for Bryce Harper. That is a huge name. And to speak of a contract larger than what Alex Rodriguez is making right now, and we're talking in the $300 million, I'm just like, he better finish his career there. He has to bring them, in his first 2 seasons, he has to bring them a ring. I mean, I'm sorry. You're not going to shell out this amount of money and put this product and put your destiny legacy on the line when you bring this man in and pay him that kind of money. So that's why I'm just like, why not chase after someone, in my opinion, a little more stable?
Who you got in mind?
I was thinking Trout. I was thinking,
See, I see Trout going to the National League if something happened like that.
I'm just saying, I think if you want to put the best product out there for me, and I take nothing away from Bryce Harper, because I feel that the two of those guys are carrying the torch right now, along with, it depends on when he wants to play, but Yasiel Puig. You've got your David Ortizes, who are riding off into the sunset. Jeter already did it. A-Rod should have been done it. You've got Albert Pujols, who, in my opinion, maybe has another year left in him. So you're looking at the next. And when I think of Major League Baseball, I think of Trout, and I do think of Harper. But I'm just saying, if you're asking me, and I'm one of the Steinbrenners, I would rather go for Trout. I just think that, to me, he kind of somewhat embodies the Jeter legacy, if we will, a guy who you don't hear much about but consistently produces. And so I'm thinking, don't you want that in your rotation? Don't you want that, like that figurehead?
You know who Trout's childhood hero is?
Who?
Derek Jeter.
Exactly. So why not follow in those footsteps? So I like where both of you are going, but in my opinion, I don't know. I would rather, if I'm the Steinbrenners, I would rather give Trout that money than give Bryce Harper that money.
Well, listen, they're going to give it to somebody.
You're right.
The bottom line.
You're right.
Whether it's either of them or somebody else.
You're right.
All right, so I'm gonna shift back. We're gonna go to the dumpster fire that it is the
cellar dwellers.
The Devil Rays. I'm gonna say yes, they are playing even worse than the Devil Rays. 23 out of 25 they've lost.
That's a shame.
Okay, I see them making one or two moves. I don't see a fire sale. I don't see that. I see them maybe moving a pitcher or two at the deadline because, honestly, right now the way that rotation is pitching, and it's horrible, the value of what you're going to get back is going to be low. Because if you're looking, the only two pitchers right now you could move is Matt Moore and Jake Odorizzi. Okay, those two guys are pitching decent, but you want something back because farm system wise they've got nothing there, and that's what's plagued them all throughout the season is they don't have the depth like they used to. So do I see them making a move? I do. I don't see them making the huge moves that everybody says they're going to do because, you could go into the winter meetings and say, okay, this is what I got. What can you give me? Because they are in the biggest power position right now in Major League Baseball because of the plethora of starting pitchers that they have to give away. And they've already gotten some few sniffing around. They've got the Rangers sniffing around. They've got New York sniffing around. They've got even Boston sniffing around. A couple teams from the NL sniffing around too for pitching. So they are in a huge spot to where they can say, "What do you have for me?" So but I don't see the fire sale like everybody says and wants to do.
So you don't think they're going to finish the season on a run, or where do you see this team going?
I see
there's 70 games left.
I don't. I see them. They're on pace to win. I think 60 games.
Yeah, just an incredibly disappointing
Very
season
bad
for a Tampa Bay Rays fan.
And there's a lot of factors that go into the season with injuries that's plagued us. That were starting rotation and overuse of the bullpen. So but you can't make excuses like that because you are at the major league level, okay? And if you are going to be called up, you got to play that top major league level caliber. So you can make excuses all you want, but if you're not doing anything on the field, then you're not helping your team out.
I'm sorry. In my opinion, you just need to bench Chris Archer for the rest of the season and bring somebody up from your bullpen, bring somebody up from your farm system and give him a shot because he can't do much worse than what
he
Chris
got
Archer
paid.
has done.
They're not going to bench him.
No, I understand.
And you can move him to the bullpen just to kind of do like a psychological thing because you brought up Blake Snell who's been pitching decent. Okay, he hasn't really found that stride like he used to.
Right.
Like everybody's thought he was yet because he's on a bad team. They're not giving enough run support to give him those innings. So if you move Archer back into the bullpen, you can move either Andres up or maybe Erasmo back up to fill in that one position, but do you want to do that? Do you want to, if you're Kevin Cash, do you want to have that psychological breakdown of him? Okay, I'm going to move you to the bullpen just to punish you because you've been playing like crap.
Listen, it can't be much worse than what the Rays are constantly doing right now.
I know, I agree with you.
So, I mean, maybe psychologically, maybe this will be a wake-up call for him. You know, a lot of people will look at it one of two ways. Either they will look at it as, you know, this is the beginning of a downward spiral, or they will potentially look at it and have a moment of, wow, I really need a reality check, and this is it. I need to get back and earn my spot. So whatever needs to happen, I need to fix it. Whatever personally is going on in my life or whatever slump I am in, I need to take some time out to figure this out. Because they're done. We've said it. The Rays are done. There is, barring every other team in the AL East just completely going into the toilet, the Rays are not making the postseason.
No, they're done this year.
Right.
I think we can all write them off.
Barring
Yeah.
a miracle season like maybe the Athletics did where they won 20 games in a row.
Something
which will
like
probably
that.
never happened.
But, I mean, I just don't see it. So you are at the point right now where even though it's the middle of the season, you can start making adjustments now. And I know people are going to say, why do it in the middle of the season? Well, guess what? Your season's already over. So why not figure out what you've got and try to forecast for next season? But you're right, Craig. They did pay Archer all this money. They're going to utilize him. I mean, I personally feel bad for the kid. I mean, 27, and he's starting to come into his prime. But for some reason,
You guys want Clay Buchholz for him?
Yeah. I'm good for right now. No, I'm good.
Hey, we'll do an even swap.
I'm going back to what you said, Eric, about, there was it was so much tremendous, they put him on a pedestal because this was the guy that's taking over the number one spot, a la David Price.
David Price 2.0.
2.0, exactly. So saying it is a psychological thing, it could be. But, like I said before, if you're going to be in the major leagues, you've got to play like a major leaguer instead of playing. I mean, he's lost 14 games. Okay, he's on pace to lose 20.
Right.
And this guy is supposed to be your number one. So, there's a lot of things that we can discuss about what is wrong with this team because there's a lot wrong with this team. So, I have no answer to these questions because they need to answer them for themselves.
Right.
I can only say they're going to make one or two moves by the trade deadline.
No, they need to do something. I mean, you've got to give this fan base something to believe in, and right now you're giving them absolutely nothing. The fact that they still have fans in that stadium is only because other teams are coming in. But I digress. Let's move forward. Let's keep it going. Gentlemen, before we took a vacation and took some time away, we were still on the where is Kevin Durant going draft lottery.
Boy, were we wrong.
Summer of Kevin Durant.
I'm telling you. And he made the decision that he didn't take his talents to South Beach. He didn't go play with LeBron. He just said, I'm going to go play with the team that won 73 games last season and did not win a championship because they let LeBron beat him and come back from a 3-1 deficit. So now, instead of having the big three, we now have our very first, I'll suffice to say, super team.
I don't think it's the first super team, but you
yeah.
could definitely characterize it as a super team.
Super team. Kevin Durant is with the Golden State Warriors, and I'm blown away by this because I could go so many different directions like this. And then, this is the funny thing. Do you know who else signed with the Golden State Warriors for 1 year because he wants to get a championship?
Mr. West.
David West. You know what that tells me? You ain't getting nothing, bro. I'm sorry. When David West signed that 1 year deal with Golden State,
He's ring chasing, boy.
Oh, yeah.
He is ring chasing.
he's like, I'll take the league minimum. Just put me on
I
team.
thought it was so funny how many old retired guys are starting to come out of retirement just to get paid.
Oh, dude.
It's
Ray
crazy.
Allen might
Ray
go
Allen-
there.
I know, it was nuts.
It was. Well, I thought Ray Allen might be going to Cleveland.
No, they said he might be going to Golden State.
Are
His
you
agent's
serious?
talking to Golden State. That's what
Wow.
He's talking to Cleveland, too.
I'm sure he is.
Talking to Cleveland,
Yeah.
too.
How many teams have an opportunity to win? Because he'll go to one of them.
Right. But yeah. All right. So let's talk about
I'm
it.
waiting on Dennis Rodman to come out of retirement.
Let's talk about it. I'm ready to talk about it. You know what? I've actually thought long and hard about his decision, and I've mulled over certain circumstances in my head. And at first, I will be the first to tell you I was completely disappointed. First off, I'm a Boston Celtics fan, as you know. I was hoping there's a little glimmer of hope. We got Horford.
I was there with you, baby.
We had a meeting, though. They
I
had
was
a
there
meeting.
with
That
you.
glimmer of hope, you might
got
get
a
Westbrook.
meeting.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know. Or you might get Blake Griffin.
There's a lot of rumors. We'll get into the Celtics. But, yeah, as far as Kevin Durant goes, The only thing I'll say that I want to knock him for right now, and I'll get into it, is the fact that he joined Golden State out of every team. I wouldn't have knocked him if he would have went to any other team. And the only reason why I say that is because that team just beat him. And he had 3 opportunities up 3-1 to beat him. Not the first time, not the second time, not the third time. Not only that, but someone that you're going to call your teammate now, maybe your friend, kicked your old teammate not once but twice in the balls.
Yeah.
And then you got to look them in the face and just be like, oh, yo, I'm actually joining the team that kicked you.
Yep.
And I don't even care that he did. Here's the dilemma now, though. Every other team in the league has to be shaking right now to face this team because they not only had the Steph Curry, that's lights out from 3, the Klay Thompson, that's lights out from 3, the stretch 4, I would guess that he is. He's a hybrid too. You know, Draymond Green that can come out and shoot the 3. Now you have
And punch people in the face.
the scoring champion 4 out of the last 5 years in Kevin Durant. Probably the best offensive player in the game, in my opinion, outside of the do-it-all LeBron James. Just straight offensive player. Kevin Durant joining your roster. You got Sean Livingston to come back. You got Iguodala. He's coming back. You signed Zaza Pachulia. You got David West now. Now you're talking about bringing other people in. I don't care how many players they missed. Harrison Barnes, bye. He didn't do anything. This team has gotten significantly better.
Oh,
And
this team is winning. This is it.
I already said it.
Yeah.
20 and I know people are going to disagree, and you never know how it's going to work out, but congratulations to the Golden State Warriors, 2016-2017 NBA champions, barring injury. I always add that in because you can never see the unforeseen, if you will. But you know what? All it boils down to in the end is if Kevin Durant wins championships. You can knock him all you want. LeBron James couldn't win a championship till he went to Miami, and then guess what? He won 2, and people stopped talking about him. Granted, the last one he won, he's going to be remembered more for it because he went home. He won it for Cleveland. But guess what? He still had those other 2 that he had fallen on. If he had lost those 2, then lost this one in Cleveland, you know what I'm saying? People would have been like, he just never won a championship. Never won a championship. Charles Barkley never won a championship. Patrick Ewing never. That's the argument all the time. People are going to forget that he joined a super team. Whatever. He won the championship.
Exactly.
So it might be 1, 2, 3. He's going to get his. He wants to get his, but can other teams keep him away from getting his?
Yes. I will say yes. LeBron just proved that you can stop a powerhouse team. Even before Kevin Durant got on the Golden State Warriors. This is a team that went 73-9. Okay? This is a team that was down 3-1 on Oklahoma City and came back and resurrected themselves to get to the NBA Finals. And then they lost it when they were up 3-1. So I'm saying to you right now, barring injury, the Golden State Warriors are the odds on, not even odds on, they are the favorite to win it all this upcoming season. But you never know what's going to happen. And the fact that LeBron rewrote history now, guess what? Teams that are going to be down 3-1 are going to look at, not only are they going to look at what LeBron did, they're going to look at what Golden State did against Oklahoma City and said, listen, it can be done. It can be done.
Andre Iguodala came out and said that Oklahoma City was the best team in the postseason last year.
I saw that.
So if he would have went back in the acquisition of Oladipo and some other people that they brought in, I still think his best chance to win was going to be in Oklahoma City because you have to factor he was going to be on that roster.
Yep.
Well, he didn't feel that way. He felt like he gave his whole 9 years that he played to Oklahoma City, and he's moving on. And he moved on to a team that happened to just break the record for number of wins in the regular season. And it's going to be nuts if they break that again.
What's that old saying? It don't mean a thing if you ain't got that ring.
All I gotta say is if you can't beat him, join him, right?
I mean,
That's basically what he was looking at.
I'm going to disagree with both of you about saying they're going to be the champions next season.
Okay.
I say they will not.
Do you think they get there?
I say they get there.
Or do they lose to San Antonio?
See, I have that scenario as well. I don't see them winning a championship. I think all this fanfare, oh, he's coming to Oakland, oh, this is a big super team, it's not going to happen.
See, though I look at this a little bit different than another team that actually tried to do this way back in the day.
The
Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes, with Gary
Karl
Payton.
Malone, Gary Payton, joining Shaquille O'Neal. Everybody was like, okay, they're 100% going to win it. They didn't win it.
Right.
I look at it a little bit different because I think this team is perfect for Kevin Durant's game. He does like to share the ball. He likes to jack threes. This team, that's what they do is jack threes. His defense isn't spectacular, but neither is anyone else's on that team for the most part, besides maybe Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala. I think that those are both two-way players. But Kevin Durant doesn't have to, on a given night, he doesn't have to be the number one because it could be a Steph Curry, it could be a Klay Thompson, or it could be a Draymond Green.
I'm glad that you said that, Craig, because I wanted to ask you guys both a question. Do you think maybe one of the other reasons why he left OKC was now he doesn't have to do so much?
I think that I don't know if that was his decision because the funny thing is everybody says this is Steph Curry's team. I disagree now. I think after a few games are played, Kevin Durant's going to be the number one player on that team, I mean, in my opinion, he's the second best player in the NBA. He has been over the period of the last 5-6 years, and I think just because Steph Curry's been draining threes, the face of Golden State's been winning. He's gotten more limelight per se, but I think Kevin Durant's a better basketball player.
Oh, I agree, hands down. If you ask me, Kevin Durant is a much better basketball player than Steph Curry. Steph Curry is known for jacking threes from half court. That's what he does. He's a small guy. He knows how to play. He understands the game. However, what I will say to you is if you ask me right now between the two of them, Kevin Durant hands down. What I will agree with you, Evan, and say is I'm torn right now because it's one of those, if you look at stats and you look at the analytics and you look on paper, there is no better team out there than the Golden State Warriors. But what I will also on the flip side then and play devil's advocate and also say to you, guess what? The best team last season did not win the championship.
Very true. The third best did. Maybe the fourth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it comes down to one thing, and in my opinion, one thing only. Who's got the heart to do it? If this team goes in, referring to the Golden State Warriors, just going in feeling like they got this, if they go in with that overconfidence instead of the humble confidence, they are going to have their asses handed to them. And it may be in the finals, maybe in the Western Conference Finals. Hell, it may be in the first round of the playoffs.
You can look at this. You can put it this way: even though Cleveland won the championship, the Warriors still have a bigger target on them than the Cavs do.
Of course. Well, because they acquired Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
And so now there is no – I don't care if they go 82-0. I don't care what they do in the postseason. You have one job, which is the job of every other 32 of the other 31 teams in the NBA. Don't get me wrong. But now that you've put Kevin Durant with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala, you still got Steve Kerr, but you don't have Luke Walton, which I do want to get into that as well. This team every day needs to realize it doesn't matter what we do. We have to win a championship. It's that or nothing, because if it doesn't happen, it is going to be probably the biggest mistake.
Disappointment.
Well, he's going to take so much crap if he doesn't win a championship.
Of course.
And granted, he's on a 2-year deal with a player option after the first because he wants to maximize his contract. What if things don't go as planned at the end of the season? He's a free agent. Maybe he does just hightail it out, and who knows where he'll end up. I mean, I don't foresee that happening, but you never know. The one thing I'll say about the NBA season coming up, though, and Adam Silver came out and said that he doesn't like the idea of super teams in Golden State, and he said that there's basically two teams that are favored heavily right now in Golden State and Cleveland, and everybody else is just kind of out there. I'll kind of go on the reverse of that. What I will say is that, in my opinion, outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder, because they lost Kevin Durant, outside of Miami, because they had an awful offseason, in my opinion, every other team almost in the NBA has gotten better.
Yeah.
So I think as far as a fan base goes, they're still going to follow their team. I'm a Celtics fan. They've gotten better. The Hawks got Dwight Howard. That's exciting. You know what I'm saying? Whether they be better, worse, or the same, that's an interesting buzz around what's going on there. Him coming from the Western Conference back to the Eastern Conference, where he started in Orlando. You have a team like Orlando, actually, that's made some.
Right. They got Serge Ibaka.
They got Serge Ibaka. They got some other moves in there. Bismack Biyombo they brought over. So I think that they're going to be better.
I see them as a in the postseason.
The Knicks are the most intriguing team to me. They brought in Derrick Rose. They brought in Joakim Noah. They still have Porzingis and Carmelo. I think they have a pretty high ceiling, but they also are the biggest question mark.
Of course.
And then Chicago Bulls, they somehow kept Jimmy Butler despite all the trade rumors. They brought in a Rajon Rondo that, if he doesn't prove himself this year, he might not get a new contract.
But I told you, 1 year.
Yeah.
I said this 2 weeks ago. Rajon Rondo only has to be good for one season to get his contract. I'm putting it out here right now. Right here on a whole nother level. You heard it here first. You will not hear as much negativity about him being a knucklehead as you have in the past. Why? Because he's smart enough to know I have to be even keel and take everything with a grain of salt this season to get my money. Then I can go back to being the knucklehead that I've been in Sacramento and when I was on my way out of Boston.
Yeah, I mean, he did that for Dallas, but he could have got a max contract in Dallas, but he was a knucklehead. And then you obviously brought in the Dwayne Wade, which is switching to his hometown city of Chicago. He wants to show that he still has a lot left in the tank. I think he'll be rejuvenated in a new system, so that's a really good team. And then when you look over to the Western Conference, Paul Gasol going to the San Antonio Spurs, despite Tim Duncan retiring, that's an upgrade. You know, to go along with LaMarcus Aldridge, that can clearly just play the 4 now. And then you have, you know, obviously Kawhi Leonard, which is going to be asked to take a little bit more of that reins of that offense. And Oklahoma City's still a playoff team, believe it or not. And I can't wait. This is what I hope happens. If Westbrook does not get traded, which that's a debate for another day, if the whole season happens, I can't wait for a Oklahoma City at seed 8 going against a Golden State seed 1.
Oh my
Durant and
God.
Westbrook.
I'm telling you.
First round of the playoffs. Wouldn't that be fun?
Magical.
That's gonna be if that happens, I'm gonna kiss your forehead. But more importantly than
Don't
that,
forget about the Clippers too, man. Don't
I'm-
forget about the Clippers.
Well,
man.
here's the deal with that. If they trade Blake Griffin, I don't think they have a shot anymore. Like, as much as you want to say, I think that it depends what they get in return. But if you're getting a Rudy Gay over there and maybe a draft pick, because that's what's projected to go, I don't see that team improving.
Okay.
I think you need to keep Blake Griffin on that team and then maybe bring in one other piece. Right now, they have their exact same roster pretty much.
Just everybody's got to stay healthy.
This is
That's
true.
true.
And we always say that, barring injury. But, yeah, I would love to see that. Oklahoma City sliding in at the number 8 spot versus, and I'll go on record as saying, fine, they'll go 81-1. They'll lose one game because just
Hey,
to-
are you
actually,
kidding me right
Are you
now?
trying to take that bet? Because I'll make that bet with you.
I would love to make that bet with you too.
listen, they went 73-9 with the cast of characters that they had.
And how many times in NBA history has that been done?
Say,
once?
are you trying to
Exactly.
say they're going to lose the one game to the Sixers again?
no,
Is that what you're
I was
trying
gonna
to
say
say?
Christmas Day they'd lose that one game to Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
So, but
one game.
listen,
Westbrook's going to get them
Doesn't
one
matter
time in
what
the
you
regular season.
All right, so
Westbrook's
80
going to go for about 45, 12, and 10
All right, so
against Kevin Durant and win a game in a regular season.
80,
Quote me on that.
80-2. But I'm just but what I'm saying to you is I would love to see that. That would be, and I don't really watch first round matchups when the NBA playoffs start because I'm just like, it's the first round. I expect things to happen. If that happens, I'm watching all them games.
Well, see, that's why I like all the players moving to different teams now, because I think a lot of this is the first offseason I can remember in a long time that actual stars have been moved, tons of stars. So I think the first round, second round matchups are going to be way more intriguing because you want to see if a Derrick Rose, if a Dwayne Wade, if some of these other players have stuff left in the tank and can propel that team above a higher seeded team to victory.
Do we see anybody beating Cleveland? Honestly, in the Eastern Conference, with the New York that we talked about, with the Bulls that we talked about, with the Atlanta Hawks that we talked about. Right now, barring injury, with the players that they have implemented into these organizations, can we say that potentially one of these 3 teams, Atlanta, Chicago, or New York, could knock off the reigning champs?
I don't see it.
So you're throwing Toronto completely out.
Yes, I am.
Even though that they were the best competition last year, they picked up Jared Sullinger and a couple other people in the offseason. I think that they've made strides. And don't count out Boston because I think Boston's still going to make a move or two before the season starts. And if you can go into the season with your core group from last year, which they still have completely intact, I'm not sure if you've been watching Jaylen Brown in the Summer League, but he's put up 3 straight points, the number 3 pick, of 20-plus points and almost double-digit rebounds. He looks like he's going to be a stud. He's 19 years old.
Okay.
So I think
now the East has gotten better.
Yeah,
Where there's going to be
Horford.
more competition in the East now, where instead of 45 games, you might have to win like 55, 60 to get into the playoffs.
But Cleveland still.
Of course, yeah, Cleveland hands
They're
down
still
is-
hands
is-
down because they got
hands down.
LeBron.
Okay.
You know,
All right,
if
listen.
who's the worst team? Right, well, the Nets are the worst team. If LeBron went
the
to the
Sixers are the worst team.
I beg to differ. I think the Nets are going to be this year. But if LeBron James went to the Sixers or the Nets, would they make the playoffs?
Yes.
Exactly, and that's one man. So think about that one man on a group of people that they already have in place in Cleveland. That's why they're the best team.
Okay. All right. Well, all right, gentlemen, let's take another break. When we come back, we are going to do what we always do here on Whole Nother Level. We are going to get into the NFL. A couple of things I want to talk about before we get into our breakdown of the Great L. Bushman's NFC South. You are listening to us, Whole Nother Level, right here on HNL3.com. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Whole Nother Level right here on HNL3.com. I am joined by the one and only Craig Cousin and the Great L. Bushman. Before we get into the NFL and doing the breakdown of the NFC South, 3 things I want to talk about. But before I get started, I got to let him loose. I haven't done it in a couple of weeks. I know he wants to talk about it. I got to hear his opinion about it. Ladies and gentlemen, as I do each and every Saturday here on Whole Nother Level, the one, the only, Craig Cousin.
Deflate Gate. 545 days comes to an end. And can I just say, I am the happiest person out there. Even me, I am so tired. Tired of hearing about Roger Goodell and his witch hunt, basically to go after Tom Brady. That has nothing to do anymore. It hasn't had anything to do in a year with air pressure in footballs. This guy has time and time again made the most inaccurate inconsistency on decision-making that's come in the NFL, whether it be from an on-the-field issue, equipment violation, substance abuse. It basically, these things come at him, and he pulls a number out of a hat. You're 4 games. You got 10 over here. You got 2 over here. You know what? We'll just do a team penalty here. He has absolutely no clue. Everything is ass backwards on Roger Goodell. And he is actually the worst commissioner in any sports history of being a commissioner. Any sports across the whole land. He is. Please, someone name me a worse commissioner, because I'd like to hear it. I've never seen a worse commissioner than Roger Goodell.
Bud Selig?
No, he was not worse. I'm sorry. He has not been worse. And you know what? I had a couple of things to say, but the one thing that I will say is I'm happy, like everybody else, is that this thing is over. You know, Tom Brady took it pretty much as far as he could do. The Supreme Court has bigger issues out there than talking about a deflated football. 4-game suspension, equivalent to 25%, a quarter of the NFL season, is huge. But I have confidence in Jimmy Garoppolo to go out there and at least lead us to 2-2, maybe 3-1. You know, I know we have the Miami Dolphins, which I'm just chalking up that as a W already. The Buffalo Bills, you know, Rex Ryan can say all he wants, but until he beats us, he can keep talking. You know, I don't expect us to win the first game at Arizona. It's at Arizona. That would have been hard for Tom Brady anyways. But as long as we can get to 2-2, then we can unleash, baby.
You've got the short week between, I think, Miami and then Kansas City. I think you have that short week. So, and you're going into Arrowhead.
Houston.
Oh, Houston. I'm sorry. Thank you.
And we don't know what we're going to get from Brock yet.
Right.
You know.
So,
but what I will say is I can't wait till week 5, baby, because he will be unleashed.
It's over.
And the resurrection of the Tom Brady middle finger tour will continue.
Exactly. It's over.
In 2016.
You guys are playing Cleveland.
Well,
it
you know
doesn't
what?
matter.
RG3, I feel bad for you, but
yeah.
You better have a starting job by then. Just hold on to it 4 games, because in 5th game you might lose it. If you start out 1-3 and you play against Tom Brady, you might be benched week 6 because we're putting up 40, 50 points on the Cleveland Browns, and it will continue because Tom Brady is going to show the league. He's going to come out on fire now. I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point. I think the season's over. I might not even watch football. I might have to watch football this year. This is it. The Patriots are going to win it all. Russ, I know you're listening too. You will be listening.
He's watching it for the fantasy purposes, not for the Patriots purposes. Because I completely agree with you. Not to cut you off, because I hate to do that when you are in the middle.
Take it.
But what I'm saying to you is, I have said this over and over and over again, and it holds true. Okay, Brady's been suspended 4 games. I don't care what their record is. Come week 5, just chalk up a W for the rest of the season. So if they're 3-1, they're going 15-1. If they're 2-2, they're going 14-2. Tom Brady is going to literally, physically, mentally, psychologically unleash everything. He is going to remind people week in and week out. See, you started this when you picked me 199, okay? And then I had to sit behind Drew Bledsoe. And I told Robert Kraft and I told Bill Belichick, once I get my spot, nobody's taking it from me. And Brady has done that. He's got 4 rings to his credit. Now, they figure, well, we can't get him on the field. Let's get him off the field. And Craig is absolutely right. Brady, he took it as long and as hard as he possibly could until he finally said, you know what? This isn't about what it was originally about. Fine. You want to do this to me? Guess what? Go right ahead. But I'm telling you right now, and I am not a Patriots fan, but what I will say to you is Roger Goodell is going to have to walk that aisle and give the New England Patriots organization that trophy. He does not want to do it. He doesn't want to. He is going to do everything in his power to ensure that doesn't happen. But when it does, he better man up, walk that aisle with that the Lombardi Trophy.
They might give him to Larry O'Brien, too.
They might give him both.
Lord Stanley's Cup. Bring that out there.
If they don't go to the Super Bowl with that joke of a schedule, come on.
We're
Joke of a schedule.
Joke of a schedule.
Joke of
Are
a
the
schedule.
Denver Broncos on that schedule?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got, of course, you're playing the Jets, Miami, Baltimore, Los Angeles.
Baltimore's gonna
Your
be a-
only true test is Cincinnati and Pittsburgh.
So
Seattle.
Cincinnati,
Seattle.
Pittsburgh, Seattle, Denver, a Baltimore team that's going to have their whole arsenal back.
Don't see it.
Oh, get it. I mean, I'm just saying. I know we don't have an easy schedule,
Joke of a
but
schedule.
at the same time, we're going to be sitting up there on that pedestal.
Right. Because now you're playing with an angry Tom Brady.
Are we gonna get to see more of Giselle going in and just slapping people?
She probably will. She'll be like, listen, my husband did not sit out 4 games to not come home with the ring. If you don't do your job, I will find another supermodel to get out there and do it for you. Because I got all of them on speed dial. Okay? Now, you add to the fact that he's got his number 1 enforcer who is healthy and ready to play in Gronk. He still has Amendola. He still has Edelman. He brought in
Martellus Bennett,
Martellus Bennett.
Nate Washington,
Yeah.
Chris Hogan. We got an arsenal on offense. We got Deion Lewis back.
It's
LeGarrette
over.
Blount's still there.
It's over for the AFC.
Dante Skarnecki on the offensive line to patch it up from last year.
I'm telling you right now, the first 4 games, I may give the Patriots one, maybe 2 losses. After that, I'm gonna be like Craig. Every week, don't ask me about the Patriots. They're winning. Don't even. It's like the Patriots.
Well, remember
and
what happened
Eagles.
last year after he was done with his suspension? Remember what happened last year? He
He-
destroyed people,
Yes,
and fantasy was good to me.
Yes, it
I'm
was.
telling you.
Okay,
I'll
so-
take him
so-
right now. I'm
Let
telling.
me play a quick hypothetical though, because I have to do this.
Okay,
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but I was just thinking about it.
sure.
So what if? Let's just play the what if game. What if Jimmy Garoppolo goes 4-0, and then Tom Brady comes back and loses his first 1 or 2 games?
This could be a Bledsoe kind of deal.
No, I don't see it.
I mean, me personally, I'm still behind my boy,
yeah.
but I could see the fan base as stupid as they can be.
Not-
some of them,
not New
the
England
true,
fans.
not the true fans, but some of them.
No.
All the bandwagon fans, everything like that.
Because you know what? It'll be ring rust. If Garoppolo should be ever so lucky to go 4-0, okay? And granted, the 4 teams that he's playing against, 2 are division games. You're opening up against Arizona,
It's a
which
tough
I'll
schedule
tell you
for
right
him,
now,
but-
if he pulls a win against Arizona week 1,
Very impressed.
I'm extremely impressed. But then you've got Miami, Buffalo, and Houston.
I mean, but everybody expects Houston to at least compete for that division, if not win it this year.
they'll compete for it. But you have to understand,
Well, I don't know who the Jets quarter. Oh no, it's not the Jets. We got to worry about. They didn't get so lucky to play us when Garoppolo's going in, so
Right.
I'm sure that they're all screaming.
exactly. But no, if Garoppolo should be ever so lucky to go 4-0, and then Brady comes back, and let's say Brady loses to Cleveland.
Oh God! Actually, it's happened before. I was sitting at the Evies on Bee Ridge before.
Yeah,
So-
but it's still
and,
it's
and he
still
lost.
his
He
team.
played
I
the worst
will-
game of the season against Cleveland.
I will chalk that up to, you know what? Ring rust. That's what I'll chalk it up to. And say Brady's got to get 1 under his belt. And
don't-
then from there,
Don't tell ESPN that because
It'll be a tear.
It's time to replace Brady.
oh, you know it.
Garoppolo's
of
That'll
course.
be the first headline.
of course.
First headline.
Because it'll be a question mark.
Well, Manning will sit back and laugh because everybody was saying that last year, and he got his ring. Despite how bad people think he played, guess what?
the
He won a
defense-
ring.
defense got
But
a
it don't
ring.
matter, though. He still got his ring.
Yeah, you say what you
I
want.
know,
The
I know.
sheriff rode off into
I
the sunset.
know.
He did it the way that Elway did it. So,
Speaking of the sheriff and that defense,
whoo, yeah.
Eric?
Von Miller. Let me talk about this fool for a minute. First off, you go get
This
your
fool, he
No,
said.
I'm serious. I'm serious. You go get your ring
Is
at the
he
White
really
House.
a fool? He's now the richest defensive player in NFL
Oh, he the
history.
richest fool then. You go get
still
your
rich.
ring from the White House. Take a picture. And then you mad with the organization. So what do? You crop out John Elway, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever.
Allegedly.
Whatever, he is.
Allegedly.
You crop him out of your photo. So then how does
that's
Denver
just funny to me, though.
How does
I mean-
Denver come back to you?
That conversation must have been fun.
They hand you 6 years, $114 million.
And they probably also handed him the picture back, but then they cropped him on both sides. So it was John Elway, Von Miller, then John Elway again.
Probably. Von Miller. I'm serious.
Thumbs up all around.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna cut me a check for $114 million?
Well, listen, if Von Miller wasn't on that Super Bowl team,
Wow.
the Carolina Panthers would be world champs because he made a difference in that game, let
He
me
did.
tell you.
He did. But the fact that now he is the highest paid defensive guy out there, I'm like, bruh, I don't know. God is good to you.
Well, when's J.J. Watt's contract coming up?
Pretty soon, actually.
Because he's going to have something to say about that. I guarantee
is.
that.
He is. Patrick Peterson is. Richard Sherman is. All these boys are going to have something to say about that. You're giving this guy how much money?
And I'm not saying he's worth it, not worth it, but here's what he's looking at right now. And he had the privilege to sit back and look at all these NBA players making so much. We got a Timothy Mozgov at 16 a year, and he's like barely even a starter. You know, he's like a decent backup at this point in his career, and he got $64 million guaranteed. So he's like, oh no, let me get mine.
No, of course he was smart. Listen, me and Frank were both gonna throw our names in the ring. I'll be an unrestricted free agent for $4 million a year. Let me play on an NBA team.
I'll take like $200,000.
I'll take the league minimum, whatever
Anybody
it is.
need water? Anybody? A
you know
towel?
what I'm saying?
I'll take a kicker position for God's sakes.
But that's what I'm
even
saying.
kickers are getting paid now.
They were giving out ridiculous sums of money to NBA players who are mediocre at best.
Yep.
But getting back to Von Miller, you know what? Okay, earn your money. Yeah, you got it. Go earn it.
Yeah, don't pull it Albert Hainsworth and just disappear.
Exactly. Because I'll tell you what, the first time you don't see him out there doing that hustle, I'll be the first media guy to be like, no.
I mean, if you're Denver, though, you
won't.
had to have put a clause in that contract because at one point you could have put him in the same category as an Aldon Smith. Both of them were exactly the same player, in my opinion, and they both have off-the-field issues. So luckily, Von Miller, for his sake, he got his head in line, per se. You know, Aldon Smith didn't.
Right.
And he got paid. So, but if you're Denver, you got to put something in that contract that has an out.
I'm sure there was
just
some
in
kind
case.
of. I'm sure there was some kind of bonus structure. He's getting $70 million guaranteed, so there's some kind of bonus structure.
There has to be. There has to be.
I just hope that the Broncos don't suffer from contract hangover because a lot of these guys that get these huge contracts the next year they suck.
Well, the problem with that too, paying that position $70 million. Well, you don't have a quarterback right now.
Nope.
You have Mark Sanchez, and you're hoping Paxton Lynch can develop.
Right.
If he doesn't develop, and Mark Sanchez plays like he has the last 3-4 years, you're in some deep
But, okay, think of it like this, though. We just said it, though. The Sheriff didn't play like he played. It was all on that defense.
But they lost
And
some of that defense, too, this offseason.
I understand that. Say what you want, though. The key pieces, I think, are still there to where that defense will be solid and will be stout, okay? They don't need a solid quarterback right now. C.J. Anderson is still there. Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders are still there. As long as Sanchez can be above 500, maybe 501, 502, Denver will still be good. But I look at Oakland. Oakland has always been my sleeper in that division and say if Oakland can get on a run and possibly knock them out, then that's going to be the telltale sign that Denver is slumping.
Well, I think that whole division has improved. And what Kansas City did last year, winning, what was it, 8, 9, 10 games in a row?
11.
Was absolute 11. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely ridiculous.
However, what I will say to you is, and we always say this, Andy Reid, time clock management.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the regular season hero, postseason blunder.
Yeah.
When you look at Andy Reid, and, who knows if they'll get him back there. But I think Oakland, and we've talked about it before, Oakland is on the rise at the very least. I think they have a good shot of making the playoffs this year. So it does, I guess all the pressure's on not just Von Miller with that contract now, but also Mark Sanchez to see if he can at least play manageable football for that team.
No, I will agree. Last guy I want to talk about, then I definitely want to get into our breakdown of the NFC South. Kirk Cousins. He got a 1-year deal, franchise tagged for 14, 15? No, I think it was almost up almost to $20 million, I think.
Yeah, I don't have the exact number in front of me right now, but I know he took they didn't come up with a new agreement on a deal, long-term deal, so he is franchise tagged for this year, which is basically a prove-it year again.
The franchise tag was $19.9.
19.9, so you're right there, about $20 million a year, which, hey, if you're Kirk Cousins and you were a backup 2 years ago behind RG3, you had one good year, I'm taking that $20 million guaranteed money to the bank and loving it. Because barring an injury and barring he plays awful this season, he's going to get some sort of a decent contract, if not a great contract.
And whether it be with Washington or whether it be with someone else, he's got it. So you're absolutely right. So we shall see what happens. I mean, right now they are the current NFC East champions. That's not going to last this year, but
how you like that?
I don't.
How you like that?
I don't. But they have made the necessary adjustments, so we'll see. Gentlemen, let us get into the breakdown of the NFC South. And we have to start with the team that should have, in my opinion, won the Super Bowl but did not. The team that I was on their bandwagon from about week 3, and I was consistently being told, you're crazy, Cam Newton can't do it. Look at the cast of characters around him. And I was like, no, guys, watch what's going to happen. And then finally about week 7 or 8, they finally started seeing what I had already seen. And so now Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton, and a healthy Kelvin Benjamin will go into the 2016-2017 season, the reigning NFC champions. Let's break them down. We have already said, and I will reiterate this again, they are going to destroy Denver opening night. That Sunday night game, they are back in Denver. You have one of the hugest chip on your shoulders. I don't see it. Not with the Mark Sanchez's and the Paxton Lynch's of the world at quarterback. That defense, Von Miller better have a Super Bowl repeat on Cam Newton, because if he doesn't, Cam is going to light up Mile High Stadium. So I say they have a 12-4 record this year, 4-2 in the division. Their losses come 2 in the division to the Bucks and the Falcons. They're going to lose to the Cardinals, and I have them losing to the Chiefs. But I have them at 12-4.
I'm going to agree with you with the 12-4. As much as I love my Bucks, I think the Panthers they got a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah,
the Super Bowl hangover is not going to be there. They've got something to prove again to see they can get back. They didn't really lose a lot except for Josh Norman. That's pretty much it.
Right.
Other than that, their whole defensive scheme is still back. So, I'm going along with you. They lose their division. They're going to split the series with Tampa Bay in the inside of the division. They're going to go 1-1 with those guys.
I have that as well.
Okay, so but other than that, I mean, the schedule it's a very tough schedule with them. But 12-4, I'm going with them.
Here's
who do you got their other losses to, or did you not look at the schedule in detail?
I got them losing against the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and also the Redskins. This is going to be because of the whole Josh Norman thing. So.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So, and you have them splitting with Tampa Bay.
I have them splitting with Tampa Bay.
Got you. That's crazy because we did not, ladies and gentlemen, look at our, discuss our picks prior to, and I also have the Carolina Panthers going 12-4.
Wow.
I also have the Carolina Panthers splitting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even at their worst, have always played Carolina tough. They're the one team that I can say that it doesn't matter what their record is, division rival have always played them good.
Yes.
I have them losing to the Cardinals. And I have them losing to actually back-to-back games. I think they're going to hit a little bit of a slump towards the end of the season. I got them at the Raiders, at the Seahawks, losing both of them. And then I think they're going to win the rest of the games to finish out, kind of get their steam back. 12-4. You said that they had lost Josh Norman. Huge loss on defense. But what I will say with that is they also gain that loss, for what it's worth, on offense getting Kelvin Benjamin back. A stud receiver in his rookie year. And I think he's going to build from that. He's already been looking good in OTAs. From what I've seen, he's back to normal from the injury, and I think that he's going to build on that this season. And finally, Cam Newton has a viable target.
Well, what's crazy is the what they did last year without Kelvin Benjamin. I mean,
exactly.
He had to do. Ted Ginn Jr. came out of nowhere with
Devin Funchess,
who was dropping balls all over the place. Okay, I mean, you got your boy Greg Olsen in there, too. Their backfield, I like, is a two-headed monster. I love Fozzie Whitaker, man. That guy is quick, and he's a small back, too, which is good for them. Offensive line is just nasty good. So, I mean, with the addition of Kelvin back, and I'm a FSU guy at heart, I really hope he stays healthy and does good this year as well. They are going to be scary, scary
And
good.
I think Cam's going to have a chip on his shoulder. I don't think that was the Cam Newton that he wants to portray himself, not jumping for the ball in the Super Bowl and basically leaving the press conference and, this and that, not really talking after the game. I think that he wants to show people that's not him. He's going to get back to having fun. That's what they were last season. He was dabbing all over the field. The Carolina Panthers were fun to watch last season. I think that's what made him so good. Luke Kuechly is the leader of that defense.
All day.
And I think that he's going to instill the ferocity on that defense and also get them playing back to what football is. Football's a game. Football is fun. And I think that they'll get back to that, and I have them going 12-4.
Listen, I actually, when we talk about their wins and losses, I have them going on a 5-game win streak from the Saints starting on November 17th all the way up until the Falcons, just because I see them going into Oakland and beating Oakland. I see them repeating what they hadn't done years past, going into Seattle and beating Seattle. Now, Seattle, and we haven't even touched on Seattle, or actually we did. I was not there. Seattle is going to want some get back because this was the game that shocked and I think turned the page for Cam Newton. He was so unsuccessful in Seattle to where last year when he actually got it and he made it happen and he came away with a victory, that was a monkey off his back. From there, he just rode off into everything. It didn't end the way he wanted it to. But Atlanta, I just think after coming off so many victories, Atlanta, whether they're good or they're bad, they always steal one from Carolina. And I think that's what's going to happen. That'll be their last loss of the season. But, yeah, all of us have them at 12-4. Speaking of Atlanta, let's go right to them with the Atlanta Falcons. And I started looking at this schedule, and I said to myself, do I do what they did last year and have them winning the first 5 and 6 and then finishing up 8-8? And I was like, no. I was like, I just don't see it.
Atlanta has a brutal schedule.
They do. I have them finishing 8-8. But I have them starting off the season, if you take their first 7 games, 2-5. I have them losing at the Raiders, losing at the Saints, losing to the Panthers, losing at the Broncos, losing at the Seahawks. That is a telltale sign of what your team is going to be like just in those 5 games. So for me, I have them doing what they did last year, 8-8. I do have them 4-2 in the division. Just looking at some of these games, it's just Atlanta. And I really think that the whole Dan Quinn defense, he needs to step it up. Matt Ryan, where are you? Who are you? Because Matty Ice, I'll tell you right now, you're not frozen. And I hate to sing the song, but, bruh, let it go. You need to figure something out. But, yeah, I have Atlanta 8-8.
He's like that, a one ice cube in the scotch that's like almost melted, and you're like, oh, no, is it going to be warm when I take this next sip?
Right.
Because he is the last 2 or 3 years really, regressed, I would say, to where his potential was going to be a lot greater. I have them at 9-7, and I put them like that because I think that they'll win. They'll improve on last season because I think their defense has gotten a little bit better. I don't really know where to put them though, because so I got them at 9-7. Won't be surprised if they finish 6-10. Won't be surprised if they finish 10-6. I have them going on a losing spree basically. At the Raiders, I think that's a loss. The Panthers, Broncos, Seahawks, 3 losses in a row. Then I think they'll win against the Chargers, and I have them losing against the Packers, and then at the Bucks. So I think it's a tough go around for them. And then I actually have them going on a little bit of a win streak, which might be a stretch because then it's like at the Eagles, the Cardinals, the Chiefs. I mean, I could technically see them losing all those games, but I have them going and winning those games. So that's why I said, like, they could win 4 games this year, 5 games, or they could, win 10, 11 games. It's so hard to predict this team, so I'm going to kind of go right in the middle. I like where you went 8-8. I'm going to go 9-7 for the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm going to disagree with you both.
Okay.
I'm going 5-11.
So you went the opposite route.
I'm going the opposite route, only because of what happened last year. Okay, they started out so... I mean, they were on fire, and then all of a sudden, the second half of the season is just nap time, as I always say in San Diego. It's nap time, and I only say that they're going 5-11 because the defense has been so terrible in Atlanta. It's going to continue to get terrible. I mean, their offense solely rests on Matt Ryan, and Craig, on the point you said is he has been regressing the past couple of years. I mean, he's got Julio Jones. Mohamed Sanu is not much of an upgrade compared to Roddy White was. I mean, now Roddy White's not even there anymore. I mean, the two-headed monster with Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman, I like very much. Those guys are so quick, and they can cut routes like it's no tomorrow. But it's solely, it's on him. It's Matt Ryan. It's his show. He needs to put up or shut up, or he is done after this season.
If Julio Jones goes down, too, because he's
done.
shown that he can, has some injury issues, concerns, then, yeah, they're done.
I just don't see this team being any better than last year. I say 5-11.
All the weapons in the world, and you still can't get it done. All right. Let's keep it going. Let's go to what are we thinking about the New Orleans Saints? Is this the final farewell tour of the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era? We don't know who the defensive head coach now because Rob Ryan went to Buffalo to join his brother. So that's going to be a whole new look defense. We don't even know what that's going to be like. But looking at the New Orleans Saints, I mean, this was a team, a former Super Bowl champion team in the last decade. You know what I'm saying? And this was a team where when you went to the Superdome, you were like, the Saints you're losing. You walk into the stadium, you losing. just because it's New Orleans, it's the Superdome. That was one of those stadiums where you had to play lights out in order to be successful. Over the past couple of years, though, we've seen them go down to being the New Orleans, take the S out, the New Orleans Aints, because they ain't won nothing. So, that being said, I have them at 7-9, 2-4 in the division, and they're kind of back and forth with me. I have win-loss, 2 wins, 3 losses, 2 wins, a loss. I just don't know what to expect from the New Orleans Saints. And based on what I've seen last year, I do week 2 at the Giants. I do want to see that game because if it's anything like last year, which was the Madden Bowl, 48-51, neither defense is going to step up. Although I want to see what this what this defense is going to bring, and I think that will be the telltale sign. Because we know what Drew Brees is going to do. He's going to throw for 4,000 yards.
Maybe even 5,000.
Right. We don't know what that defense is going to bring. For that reason, I cannot give them a 500 or even a 500 or plus record. I have to. I have to err on the side of caution and say 7-9.
Close to what I had. I actually had it at 7-9. I'm switching it to 6-10 even. Looking at their schedule right now, and I think that we're going through the division right now, and we all think that Carolina is going to be a powerhouse team. I think we're going to get to the Bucs in a second. I think they're going to be much improved. I think the Falcons are right now a better team than the Saints. So I have the Saints finishing dead last in the division. When I'm looking at this, I just don't know. First off, I don't know what I'm going to get from that offense. I've heard bits and pieces of little rumors flying around that they might be interested in signing Anquan Bolden. I think that'll be a great move for them. I think that he's almost perfect for that system. Brandon Cooks disappointed me last season. I picked up in second round in fantasy. Listened to all the experts. Won't be doing that this year, and I won't be touching Brandon Cooks this year either. Brandon Coleman flashes here and there. Colson's past his prime. What are you getting from the run game? You see it at times. You don't see it at times. I just don't know what I'm getting from the Saints team. And, actually I think they will be improved on defense because of the fact that Rob Ryan did nothing for that team. But I don't think they will be improved that much. And I just don't see them going anywhere, really, this season, to be honest. So I got them at 6-10.
I have them going 5-11, just like the Falcons. Okay, 2 terrible teams that are going to be terrible yet again. And the reason why I say this is because of a guy that – you built your team around Drew Brees, okay? This guy could have restructured his contract to bring in players, to sign players that could help your team out, okay? I'm really kind of pissed off with this guy who is the face of this franchise. You won a Super Bowl with this franchise, and you can't restructure your contract like a bunch of other guys have done to bring in players to help you out?
That's a great point. I was going to bring that up. Such a great point. He has never restructured his contract.
Never.
And he wouldn't even restructure his contract to keep Jimmy Graham. And they had the second best quarterback tight end duo in the league outside of Gronk and Brady. And for him to looking back, for him to not even do that for Jimmy Graham, this guy's selfish. He wants to take all the money for himself, but then he wants to see results. But as you've seen over the years, those results don't happen. You know what I'm saying? You have to be willing to restructure deals and to work quarterback friendly deals in order to build pieces around you, like Brady did when they brought in Darrelle Revis to help them win. Even Aaron Rodgers has done, believe it or not, in some situations. So yeah, I like you just said. I'll go back to you because you're still going through the games or whatnot. But I couldn't say it better. I
mean, to a guy that keeps saying you got to make sacrifices, this guy hasn't sacrificed anything. I mean, come on, man. You're making so much money, and this is your team? Restructure.
And that's why I say, is this the end? Is this the farewell?
I was really surprised last year wasn't the end because everybody was saying Sean Payton's going to be done. He's going to be going to Miami. He's going to go somewhere else. And then he restructured his contract, okay? So this is the swan song of Drew Brees and New Orleans because I think it's time to maybe move on and break down and tear this team down and start from anew. I mean, high-powered offense, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's gunslinging every single week. Okay, because he has to. He has no run game. Are you going to rely on Mark Ingram and Tim Hightower all the time? Hell no. Okay? Fantasy aside, you've got Willie Snead. Okay, you've got Brandon Cooks, Brandon Coleman. These guys have been touted as the top receivers and then do nothing for the season. This team is terrible. 5-11.
Wow.
And I'm being generous on the 5-11.
Okay. All right, listen. Last season we were like San Fran ain't gonna win but 5. Frank and Craig last season. San Francisco ain't gonna win 5 games. I'm like, really? No, they're not. Oh, okay, so you're saying 5 games? Okay, all right. With that, we move to the final team. It is El Bushman's team. It is the team that is here locally and we support and talk about on a consistent basis. It is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am deferring to the great El Bushman.
Fire the cannons.
Go ahead.
Fire. This is the year that is gonna be fantastical in the city of Tampa Bay.
All right.
Okay, we did well in hockey for the Lightning. Let's put the Rays aside and put nap time right now. It's the Bucks. It's the Bucks. Now I don't see them winning the division. Okay, I do see them going 11-5.
Wow,
Yes,
11-5.
I'm putting it out there
For
right
those
now.
of you
11-5.
listening in, El Bushman is wearing his throwback creamsicle orange Buccaneer hat while making the prediction of 11-5.
I am doing that. I am doing that because I'm going to bring in the old and the new. It's 11-5, and I'm looking at their schedule right now. Okay, it's a doable schedule. It's a pretty mediocre good schedule. Okay, they're playing some hard teams in there. I said before they're going to split the series with Carolina in the division. They're going to go 1-1 with them. I see them winning against the Saints both times. I see them winning against the Falcons both times because they're both terrible teams. Now going against teams like Seattle, I don't see them pulling out anything, especially because they're playing in Seattle. Okay, it's the Legion of Boom.
No. Seattle is here.
Oh, they're here.
Tampa.
I still don't see them beating Seattle. Seattle's such a great team.
All right.
I still don't see them. I see them beating the Denver Broncos. Okay, because now since Tampa Bay has upgraded their defense, okay, with good draft picks, and this has been the best draft class they've had in a while. Okay, you pick up Vernon Hargreaves, the number 1 corner in that draft, I believe. Okay, you pick him up, you come back in, you pick up your boy Noah Spence. Okay, this is a defense that's going to be built around being that. I wouldn't say old school with Warren Sapp and Derrick Brooks. It's starting to look like that now, okay? Now going to your offensive side, Jameis Winston's coming back. This is a kid that's actually slimmed down now, okay? He's going to be more mobile and out of the pocket. You've got Mike Evans, and hopefully he doesn't drop any balls like he did last year, okay? if you repeat your rookie season, okay, and have another 1,000+ yard season with multiple touchdowns instead of the 2 that you had last year, you're going to do well. You signed Doug Martin. Now, the only concern I have with Doug Martin is, are you going to be Doug Martin from last year? Or are you going to be Doug Martin from a couple of years ago? You got paid.
Money?
You got your money.
Okay.
Now you need to put up a shut up.
Thank you.
That's my only concern because they did rely heavily on that run game last year, and it proved to be paid off pretty well. So I have them going 11-5. They're going to go into the wild card, and I do see them going deep into the playoffs. By the way.
Wow. I like what you're doing there. What I will say is the thing that you didn't say, the draft pick that you didn't say anything about is a kicker.
Oh, yes. I forgot to touch on my Florida State
love
kicker.
Roberto Aguayo. I think that was a steal in the draft. I don't care what round they took him in. I think that field goals these days are perpetuating a win for the most part because I've seen multiple times last season in crucial situations where kickers basically determine the outcome of a game, whether even it be it going into the half and missing an easy kick, missing an extra point. This guy is shown to be a super reliable kicker in college, and I think that usually transitions very well to the NFL. And I think a lot of people take it for granted sometimes, it's a kicking game. No, a kicker is so crucial in the NFL. As long as they have a field goal, punts, all that, special teams plays dividends. I have Tampa Bay starting out really, really rough. And when I say really rough, I'm talking about 1-4 rough. But then I had them going on a win streak. I actually think they're going to lose at the Falcons to start the season. Then at the Cardinals, I think they're going to lose. I will be at that Rams game because I want to see Tampa Bay, Jared Goff, their first home game. If you guys want to roll with me, I'm not even a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, but the Patriots play on Thursday that week, so I will be at that game. I think they're going to get a win there. I think they're going to lose to the Broncos and lose to the Panthers. That's when the fan base cannot jump off the bandwagon at 1-4 this year because they had a rough start, and I think that's a rough schedule. I have them beating the 49ers, beating the Raiders, beating the Falcons, beating the Bears, beating the Chiefs. I have them losing to the Seahawks.
Actually, with you on that win streak too.
I think they're going to go on a huge win streak. I have them losing to the Seahawks, but then turning it around quickly to beat the Chargers, beat the Saints. I had them losing at the Cowboys. Then I have them beating the Saints again, and then I think they're going to beat the Panthers last week because I think the Panthers will be resting players because they have a way better record. So I have the Tampa Bay Bucks finishing at 10-6, and that just might be enough to sneak into a wild card spot. We haven't went over all the other teams in the NFC, but I think they're going to be in the conversation.
Putting aside with all the whole Lovie Smith thing that happened, bringing in Dirk Cutter as your head coach, and then he brought in, Dan Smith as your defensive coordinator. I really like. Okay, so I like this team. Because I think they're breathing in a new excitement into the locker room. They're bringing in guys that want to. And the Bucks, Tampa Bay has actually become a place you want to play for because I think it solely rests on Jameis Winston. This guy's an exciting player. I mean, look what he did last year.
He's a motivator.
So I I left out the kicker because I was so excited and amped up to talk about my Bucks. Bringing in, and it's a steal, like you said, Craig, to come back in and pick up this guy in round 2. Everybody was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, everybody was booing the draft pick, everything. But
why?
I've seen us transition from Adam Vinatieri, which might be the best kicker in NFL history, to a Steven Gostkowski, which percentage-wise has been the best kicker the last 3 seasons. And I'm speaking from experience when I tell you, good kickers that's what you need on a team. Is a great kicker.
When your title is the most accurate kicker in NCAA history, yeah, I think I'm going to pick him up before somebody else does.
Wow.
Oh, he would have went. He would have went probably the next round, if not. I mean, hey, it's not out of the realm to be drafted in the first round. Sebastian Janikowski, Oakland Raiders, drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, so it's not unheard of. It's just
another FSU kicker.
There you go.
Y'all just breed him up there, aren't you? All right.
We just seem to kick wide right for some reason.
Here's what I will say, and I'm kind of thankful that I got to hear the two of you because I'm actually changing my prediction. I originally had the Bucks going 8-8, and to you, Craig, I was very much, this is still the chemistry that exists here on a whole nother level. You had them at 1-4. I had them at 2-3.
Okay. So yeah, and then they go in their bye week. So I think it's a perfect time to recuperate, get it back together, be like, look, rough start to the season. Now let's get it together. We have winnable games coming up. You win a couple of those, you gain confidence, you start playing well together, and then that's when I have them going on a win streak.
Gentlemen, I'm agreeing with you well. The first half is going to be before the bye week. I have them going 2-3 as well, but after the bye week, it's all gravy after that.
Right, and this is where I'm going to change. I actually had them losing to the Falcons on the Thursday night game because it was a short week. Because they're in Oakland, then they have to, but they're both home for those 2 games. So I'm actually switching that pick and saying they beat the Falcons that Thursday night, which now makes them 9-7.
Thursday night game at home too, huh?
Yes.
We might have to go to that.
Yeah.
Whole nother level might be representing the Bucks this year.
Here is what I will say to you, though.
Get some press passes.
I do feel that they will split with Carolina. They will beat Carolina in Carolina, but then they will lose at home to Carolina. Because I think very much like you do, Craig, at that point, things will kind of be sewn up as far as who's going where. So I think not only will the Panthers be resting players, I think the Bucks might rest a couple players too, because if they know, yeah, we can pretty much solidify and stamp our spot in the postseason at the number 5 or number 6 spot, they might rest to get themselves ready to get back into the postseason. I, just being who I am, December 18th, going into Jerry World, I already said this, so I have to keep on it. You will not be the great L. Bushman, the biggest Tampa Bay fan, on December 18th, my brother. It will be me, because every time Tampa gets to play Dallas, I am Tampa Bay. I'm all, yes, all day. You know me. The 2 teams I watch every Sunday during football season, the Philadelphia Eagles and whoever's playing the Cowboys. It doesn't matter.
And probably the Patriots because we're watching with you at some point, either me or Russell.
I know.
You're forced to watch it.
I am forced to.
Nothing more saddens me the most when the Cowboys lose.
Oh, yes.
When the
Bucks, you and probably 80% of the entire United States.
The Bucks will destroy the Cowboys, and it's going to be glorious.
But I have them at 9-7.
And that might be good enough to make the
think
playoffs
that's going to be
too.
9.
You never know.
I think that's going to be good. I have Jacksonville sliding in from the AFC side, one of my 2 wild card picks. I will give the nod to Tampa and say,
Wouldn't
know
that
what?
be great if some Florida teams make the playoffs this year?
Right. It'll be huge. We don't
Not
care.
Miami, though.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, we don't care about the
Can
Fins.
we already say they're a dumpster fire right now?
I think we already have on this show more than one occasion.
Dumpster fire.
But yeah, okay. So there are our picks. Next week, we have 2 more divisions left to go. So next week, we are going to do the AFC North, Pittsburgh, the new-look Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals with 2 quarterbacks, in my opinion, and then the team that is just – it was god-awful last year only because of injury, Joe Flacco and the Baltimore Ravens. How are they going to reinvent themselves this year? It's going to be very interesting to see their schedule. So much to get into next week. Gentlemen, this has been a great, great time.
Yes.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, check us out on our brand new website, HNL3.com, where you can listen to Whole Nother Level. We do it each and every Saturday. So for the one, the only, Craig Cousin, the great L. Bushman. This is E-Dubs, Eric Wilson, and until next week, we have taken you to a whole nother level. We'll see you next time.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Autobots, transform and roll out!